All right, so welcome to Cold on Contact. I'm going to let you go straight ahead into it and introduce my audience to who you are and maybe why I'm interested in your story and why you're here.
Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Tamara Galinsky. So I used to say I am from Coconut Grove, which somebody stopped and said, wait a second, are you really from Coconut Grove? The reality of it is that I'm actually Russian. My family is Russian Jewish, and we came here in 1990. So when I say here, we came to Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut. And I think the reason you want to hear my story is I came here really with 2 suitcases and $80 per person. There's 5 of us in the family. So I've come from absolutely nothing, getting kind of bags of donated clothing to go into high school, my 10th grade, to obviously sitting here today. And I think the reason you got in touch with me is because I'm the founder of Jetset Pilates. And now it's a national brand where today 232 franchised licenses all over the country, Australia, and we're opening 6 locations in London. So I think it was quite a journey for me to where I've come from. And, I think you want to hear it, and hopefully your audience would want to hear and learn something.
Absolutely. So tell me this, before we get into the story, right? Did you ever think this was even a possibility for your life, like where you're at today? 200 locations? Like, think about that. Was that ever even on the map?
So there's a yes and a no to the answer. The no is I never knew what I would create, that it would be Jetset, that Jetset would become a national brand. But I think ever since kind of a moment in high school going into college, I always had a kind of an inner sense that I wanted to create something. Right. I just didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it was not going to be me sitting in a corporate job and building a career in a corporate job. I knew I was going to create something. And then I had like a lightning bolt. I went to Tony Robbins' business mastery class. It was my own birthday present to me. I went by myself 2 years ago. And there's like 2 pillars, 2 questions. Are you an entrepreneur or are you a creator? So I'm sitting here today and of course I'm an entrepreneur. I build a company. But actually coming out of the conference 3 days later and answering all the questions and doing a lot of soul searching, it became clear that I'm actually the creator.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to the beginning. Let's go to the very start of your story, which is you telling me right now you're coming from a place outside of the U.S. You're getting here with what you said, 2 bags. Is that what I'm hearing?
2 suitcases.
2 suitcases.
A person. So it was 10 suitcases for the 5 of us. Yeah.
Let's go there. What was on the mind at that point? What was your life before that? Were you just a young girl or what's the age timeline?
Good question. Teenager, and my mom came to me 2 months, it was like 1989, still communism. Look, we were able to get out of Russia, but they giving us no time. They taking away our passports. You got 2 months to go say goodbye to your friends, and we out. So I had huge family, cousins, second cousins, third cousins. There's like a big family unit circling around my life as growing up. Yes, it was communism. We didn't have anything, but there's a lot of love, a lot of family, a lot of comfort that I knew. I didn't know anything else, right? I never traveled outside the country. And then we left. We had to come through Italy. We had to live there in Austria for like months until we came to the States, to Stamford, Connecticut. And it was just really crazy because we ended up in this apartment that was sponsored by Jewish volunteers in Stamford, Connecticut, because we didn't have any family. And it was very difficult because everything just changed in my life. I was studying piano, going to my school, getting good grades, to being dropped into a public school, not knowing English, and not having any money to look like a cool American teenager. So it was really tough kind of beginning. And I think that's when you think like nature versus nurture. I was a very different person. I was very shy. I never thought that I would go work at such an early age, but I remember going canvassing like at 14 or 15 on the street, like stopping at a pharmacy that ended up giving me a job at a register, even though I was underage because I really needed money. And, I started to kind of develop this different personality, like a go-getter personality. And I think that's the book that I really like that I gave my daughter called Grit by Angela Duckworth, I recall.
Yes.
It talks a lot about that. And I didn't know that book, but like, what can I do today to make my life a little bit better tomorrow? And it kind of was just sitting there inside of me. So I worked from a very, very young age. And the big change came when I got a big bag of donated clothing. Some of it was okay. So I pick up the sweatshirt and I put it on. I go to high school. I was like my second semester of 10th grade. I come in here and everybody's like laughing at me. And I was like, what's happening? You know, there was a word written on it. Don't know the word. And this baseball player guy, I knew he was a baseball player because I would see him like with a baseball bat going to practice, like pulls me in. I didn't know who he was. And he's like, come over here. And he's like trying to explain to me. My English was just starting. I was just learning it. I'm like, do you know what it says? I'm like, no. I'm like, it's Chippendales.
Oh my God.
And I still don't know. And he starts to explain to me that it's a strip club where guys go and strip. And I remember I've never cried. And I'm like standing there and just tears going down my face. And I'm so embarrassed. And I know I can't really leave and like just leave high school and go home and change. So I spent the whole day in the sweatshirt till I got home and threw it out. But it was that day that was like, I'm never going to be poor again.
Right.
And I'm going to create something that I would be able later to tell this crazy story. And people are like, really? That happened to you? Because a lot of times people don't know your background. You know, they see you driving a nice car. Your kids go to a nice school. But there was definitely, that was like one of the dark moments for me as a teenager. I started eating sneaker bars because I was poor. I gained a lot of weight in high school. It was just really not a happy time for me.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, I got really good grades. I ended up graduating from an Ivy League university called University of Pennsylvania. So got through that.
It's a great school, actually.
It's one of the top, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an Ivy.
Yep.
So I was really hustling.
Tell me this, though, because I feel like in America, we perceive, it's during that time especially, like, you know, this is like in the 80s, we kind of like, in our movies and our like TV shows, we portray the Russian culture as like this gritty, like almost like, stay away from it. Yeah. Were you kind of getting a bit of that too, or like just like, you know, as a woman with you probably had that strong Russian accent, where like you probably had young men just being like, you know, I mean, I'm just gonna imagine. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I'm like, ooh, that's kind of a rough time in America. Where,
you know, I think I didn't have the antennas for that at that time,
right?
Because coming in at 14 and 15, I wasn't so aware how people felt about me, but my family was one of the very few Russian families in Connecticut and Stamford.
Right.
So I think it was just exotic for the boys or the girls. The girls didn't want to be friends with me because I didn't speak any English and I was pretty poor. So there's like a clique, obviously. The boys, I remember, you know, I was cute. They were trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had to learn the language. I think once I started to speak English, which was pretty quick, because I learned it you're too young for this, but there's a show called Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, okay.
And I would come home and I would turn it on every single day because I had nothing else. I had no friends, and I would just stare at the screen. And very quickly from the show, I've learned like the slang English. And then my friends in school would say to me, they always thought I was intimidating. But I think to them, I was intimidating because I didn't speak the language. So I think in the world, how do we communicate? It's through common speech, right? So I couldn't explain myself. I couldn't tell them my story. And once I started to speak the language, which was like by my senior year, I was part of the honor society and some clubs, and I've Americanized really quickly. And that is why when people ask me today, where are you from? I say Coconut Grove.
Right.
Because I feel very American. The last 25 years, I've been to Russia maybe twice.
Yeah.
And I actually don't like going back there.
Okay, so that's another thing, like going back to Russia, because you do listen. You know, from you know, perspective as a man, you look very much like an American woman. Like I don't know if you take that as an offense, but like you look very healthy. You look very like, you know, modern. And so when I met you, I was kind of shocked because I had thought when I was reading about you that I was going to get a very like strong accent, but really it's you know, you definitely controlled your accent a lot more. Like, was that a focus of yours? Like, do you kind of stray away from it now completely? Like, do you mind it anymore? Like, what do you think?
If for Russians who I guess lived there a little bit longer than me and didn't come out there as a child or a teenager, they might identify themselves with Russia more. But I think there's also a difference that I'm Jewish and I'm very proud to be Jewish.
Yeah.